Hey, this is Logan and Grayson Wolf, your missionaries to Utah. And this week we are celebrating 10 years on the field. And so we thought we would kind of look back and maybe highlight 10 of the craziest things that's happened to us since we've been here. So we have a list I think we're going to work through. All right, Grayson, let's work through the list.
Okay, so when we first moved to Utah, we met in the conference center of a hotel that we had rented week to week, but every week when we showed up, it wasn't always ready for us.
No, and I feel like anyone who's done the mobile church, portable church, we did it for 5 years, probably has some crazy stories. Conference center's number one. What were you thinking, like when you think craziest things has happened in the conference center? What stands out to you? Just give me one thing.
Well, you don't typically have squirrels running around in church services, so that was a bit of a... That dude got in there and just would not leave. Most of that service was trying to get that squirrel out of the conference center. And then you'd walk in and people would have had bachelorette parties the night before, family reunions the night before. So
the bachelorette party was on my mind. Adult-themed confetti. And we were not able to find a vacuum cleaner. So we're scooping all of this up in our hands before the church service starts. And then the same with the family reunion. We come in one Sunday and there are Book of Mormon quotes and verses plastered all around the conference center before our service is supposed to start. I was also going to say the time that I was framed for drugs and someone had sent drugs to the conference center to me, and we ended up having to get the police involved. Also getting the police involved when someone stole all of our signs while we were in the conference and having a service. Someone came in and stole everything outside. So lots there. Lots there. Number 2.
Well, in an effort to get the word out about our church when we first moved, we participated in quite a few events. Some were enjoyable, some were a big fat waste of time. The biggest waste of time one I can think of is Logan signing us up for a wood carving event.
A wood carving. So, okay.
We don't carve wood.
We don't carve it. So number 2, fruitless events. We participated in everything, and that's probably the most ridiculous thing. We had a booth at a wood carving show, the Utah Valley Wood Carving Show, and we were offering free wood burning for children. And just a waste of a day. Nothing coming to that. In fact, I would say every single one of those events was a waste because there's no one who ever came through our doors because of those events. So we were at the farmer's market, a wood carving show, the Freedom Festival, big 4th of July festival. What else were we? The Women's Expo, Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. I know there's several more we're thinking, but nothing came of those events. So it was a lot of effort for naught.
We did discover good food at the farmer's market, though.
Which we still enjoy today.
So
plug for Cutbot. All right, number 3. What is it, number 3?
Okay, number 3. Some positive and some negative. We've seen people come and go. We've had several couples move out here to help and have been a huge blessing. And unfortunately, not all those situations worked out. And we've experienced some loss with those people. Yeah,
I think one of the lessons I've learned through that is I think there was, in my mind initially, this sense that we had to bring in the trained, the professional, the experienced in order to reach Utah. And I think God has actually, in every one of those instances, said, no, stop trying to build this on the back of outsiders. But yeah, it's been crazy. The people have come and gone. There are people here, though, still with us, including family. My parents are here.
Yeah, and my mom lives here.
And we have since had what? Who else is here?
And your brother.
My brother and sister-in-law are here still. And then we have, what happened to our family?
Yeah. The most important additions of all. Since we've lived in Utah, we've had 2 boys.
Yeah.
So we moved with 0 children, and 10 years later, we have a 4-year-old boy named Jacob and a 1-year-old little boy named Benny.
Yes. In fact, this is Jacob is just wrapping up. This coming week will be his last week of preschool, his first year of preschool. So he is something else. All right, number 4. Let's keep rolling.
Number 4 was when we had the opportunity to move our ministry to Multisite.
Yes, so we got out of the hotel. We actually absorbed another ministry, and taking that ministry on allowed us, they had a much larger building in Taylorsville outside of Salt Lake City, but it allowed us to get a building in Provo, and so we went Multisite. And to be honest, I kind of felt like we had arrived at that point.
We felt like we had arrived. We had the worship team, we had the classes, fancy building, coffee in the morning. It was, and of course we were running back and forth, so I was up there in Taylorsville Sunday mornings preaching, and then I'd come down to Provo, same message, same service, just a different group of people. And we did that for 3 years, 3 years going Multisite. And of course, you may have seen the video I posted a little while ago called just an introduction to our ministry. And one of the realizations we came to during that 3 years is we just were not making disciples. It was a lot of effort and money and time just to hold up the structure. So lesson learned here. Number 5, let's keep rolling. Well, in the midst of all this, Logan has attracted some enemies in this process. And number 5 is a story about someone coming into church right before I was about to start and wanting to fight this guy.
Yeah, so crazy. So I get a phone call. This was while we were Multisite. So I'm leaving the Taylorsville service. I get a phone call. I pick up the phone, and the guy just starts threatening me, starts cussing at me, telling me he's going to come to our service and mess everybody up. You know, he doesn't want us here, blah, blah, blah. To the point, I'm not saying anything. And that goes on for a while. And eventually he says, into the phone, remember he says, are you still there? Yeah. And so I ended up hanging up. We ended up getting the police involved again. And so we're having worship practice. The band's down there. There's some children there. Yeah. And this guy in a hood and sunglasses comes stomping across the parking lot. Grayson sees it through the window because Grayson panics.
I was panicking.
She's Logan. And so she takes the kids downstairs, and this guy comes inside and anyway, gets right in my face, tries to fight me. Several other guys involved. He ends up going outside. The police were passing at that moment. And basically, as he's running away from us, the police intercept him and arrest him. So good times.
Thank you, police.
Yeah, that was actually, unfortunately, that was the highlight of that service probably, was that event. So that's all downhill from there. All right.
Okay, number 6. When we first moved here, I had a teaching degree and wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I ended up teaching at a school, and it went very well because I'm now the principal there, and I am finishing my 4th year as principal. It's a wonderful school, so I feel like God has really blessed me and allowed me to have such an amazing job here and meet so many wonderful people. A lot of the connections and relationships that we have here in Utah are due to people that I've met at my job. So that's been really cool.
And I put that on, so this number 6, Grayson's principal, I put that on there because I think it highlights 2 things. I think it highlights a faithlessness on our part initially. We just came in assuming that Grayson wouldn't get a job just because of the culture. We were coming in as outsiders. But then I think it's also even faithlessness on our part. God shows himself faithful, and Grayson has been shown incredible favor. And is really, really, really good at her job. So I'm very excited about that one. Number 7. It's a good one. Number 7.
7.
Yes.
House church.
House church. So again, I can point you back to that previous video, that introduction to our ministry. But 8 years in to being here, 3 years of doing Multisite, we just came to the realization we're not making disciples. And we got rid of the buildings. So it was a really quick turnaround. For us was all theory at that point. We had never been part of a house church. We're just reading things. All we know is we're not doing what we had come to Utah to do, which was to make disciples that make disciples. And so this was a drastic transformation. I think one of the things that stands out in my mind about that transition is from the last Sunday in the buildings to the first Sunday in house church. Do you know what % of the church we lost?
Like 90.
No, wasn't that. We lost 60% of our church. 60% of our church just didn't even show up to see it. So it was hard. I mean, that was kind of a gut-wrenching sort of thing, but it also was highlighting what we were seeing. The fact that there's a problem. The consumer spectator type of mentality. So house church has been a huge blessing since then. Let's do this. We don't have a ton of time. What is one of your favorite things now about how we gather as a church.
I love the openness and the vulnerability to be able to come to a place and share with a group of people that you know care about you, what you're struggling with, the good things about your week, the bad things about your week. And right in the middle of a service, if you have a question, instead of struggling through the question and then maybe leaving church and forgetting it, there's a space to stop, discuss those maybe doubts, concerns, fears, questions right there, and it's just a very freeing experience.
I was almost kind of the same thing. I was going to say I love how we're not slave to a sermon calendar or a order of service, but there is a real organic nature about it where we can stop. I mean, songs are interspersed throughout, prayers are interspersed throughout. I mean, it's been incredible. So I love the organic nature of it. Let's keep rolling.
Okay, number 8. This is a scary one.
Oh my goodness. I know what it is.
She knows what it is.
I know what it is. What is it?
Demons.
I think, now do you remember when we first moved here? There was a demonic encounter at our condo. Okay. So when we first moved here, there was some real heavy spiritual warfare up front. And there were, I mean, we've been talking about it, I feel like, in public. There were 3 demons that actually came against me personally in our condo. But it kind of subsided for a little while. We move into house church. I feel like we're seeing it all the time.
All the time.
A lot.
Right now.
A lot. When you say demons, what stands, like, I feel like I've had more experience with it than you. But what are you thinking?
I'm just thinking of people that we've been able to meet through prayer walking or knocking on doors, networking through neighborhoods that are just in bondage and enslaved to demonic activity in their life, and they've never realized that that's what it is. And we've seen lots of people kind of held captive to that, and seen the gospel be incredibly freeing for those individuals.
Another video that I posted earlier was actually an update from an outreach event we did in Logan, Utah, which is northern Utah. And I tell the story in that video of a woman who's delivered from a demon as me and a friend are in her living room. So I encourage you to check out that video. But we have seen, I can think of half a dozen instances where we have come encountered demons.
And sometimes with our own people, you see the devil just fighting as hard as he can against them.
It's been crazy. But thank God for the deliverance. We've seen God has done some incredible things in the midst of that. So it's been awesome.
And then number 9, and direct kind of correlation to that, when we have seen people delivered from that oppression and come to know Christ, the number of baptisms that we've seen in the last few years.
We have seen so many people come to faith. I'm thinking, there were some spotty seasons where we've seen it, but since last summer, so not quite a year yet, since July of 2020, in the midst of COVID, to today, we have seen 43 people come to faith and be baptized. And I don't know if you know this, but not this Sunday, but next Sunday, someone is coming here to be baptized in our pool. Yeah, so we'll have another baptism in a week. So it has been incredible. And where are these taking place? Because we're...
All over. We've had pools at neighborhood, like clubhouses, hot tubs, people's bathtubs in their homes.
I think the last slew of them up in Salt Lake City was the inflatable out front.
We have an inflatable baptistry. So anywhere there's water.
There make it work. There you go. That's Acts 8. That's good. Okay. Last one.
And
number 10.
Last one. Very exciting. We have seen a lot of multi-generational discipleship take place.
Yes. This is exactly what we moved here to do. So again, in that previous video, I've shared a couple examples of that, but we have seen where I've led someone to faith, who's led someone to faith, who's led someone to faith. And I think we've got 2 streams where it's 4 deep, which is insane. We have several streams where it's 2 and 3 deep. Like Grayson said, we're starting to see that a lot across our network. So from where we are in central Utah up to northern Utah, but we are seeing disciples making disciples. It's incredible. It has been amazing. So I think does that sum up 10 craziest?
I mean, I'm sure we could go on all night, but...
Well, here's what we're going to do. Because this month, like I said, we are celebrating 10 years in Utah, we're going to have at least 1, maybe 2 Facebook Live. I've never done Facebook Live. I'm dreading it a little bit. But we're going to do a Q&A with you about these events or anything else going on in our life or in the ministry here in Utah, anything that's happened over the last 10 years, we'd love to delve a little deeper into some of these and share some of the stories. And so look out for that. We'll send some links and some reminders on social media in the next couple of days. Guys, thank you so much for your prayers and support. We love y'all. We're so grateful for you, and we're grateful for what God's doing here in Utah.